Hi everyone. Thank you for joining me for Sunday school today. I'm really glad you could be here with me. I haven't been here for a couple weeks, so it's great to see you. Today we're going to have two Bible stories that we're going to go through. So if you have a Bible in your house, I'm going to give you a couple seconds now to go and get it so you can follow along with the story with me. So go and find a Bible and come right back and we'll start our stories. In our stories today, we're kind of talking about three different words: mercy, compassion, and listening. You know, when you hear these words and you think, well, yeah, I know what they mean, but I thought mercy, what does that really mean? So I looked it up on the computer. Mercy means compassion or forgiveness shown towards someone whom it is within one's power to punish or harm. Used in a sentence, the boy was screaming and begging for mercy. Okay, so basically it's, well, if you have power over someone, you kind of forgive them and let it go, right? I guess. Compassion, the meaning of compassion: sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. Used in a sentence, the victims should be treated with compassion. So compassion is kind of caring for someone, for other people, feeling sorry for them, you know, being there for them if they need some help. So you got to be kind of compassionate. The third word I said is listening. I didn't think I really had to look up what listening meant because I think we all know what listening means, right? You listen in school, you listen to your parents. But I always kind of think, you know, there's a difference between listening and hearing. You can hear something, but are you really listening? You know, you can hear, you say something to someone and say, well, good morning, and they say good morning, and you just walk on by. How are you? I'm okay. Okay, walk on by. You know, you never really, do you really listen, or are you just hearing what they say? So in our story, in our second story today, we're going to talk more about listening. So our first story, when we show someone mercy, we show them kindness and compassion, kind of like I just said, right? Typically, we show mercy to someone who we might think is an enemy. Can you think of a time in your life when someone showed you mercy? Or when you showed someone mercy? You know, I kind of think, oh, let's say maybe you did something wrong and your parents were going to discipline you, but then you were like, okay, well, they said, well, okay, we'll let it go, but I hope you learned something. So they showed you a little mercy. Or if you're having an argument with a brother or sister and maybe it's a physical or an emotional argument or verbal, and they show you mercy and let you go, right? Yeah. So it's kind of good to show some mercy and for people to show you mercy, right? So we got to keep that in mind. So there are lots of times when people show us mercy. In today's story, there are some characters who do show mercy to other people. So our first story today is about the Good Samaritan. Have you ever heard this saying, oh, he was really a good Samaritan? Well, today we're going to read and find out what that really means. Basically, it's someone helping someone, right? We'll see. Let's read our story. So if we turn to the book of Luke, and let's see, we are in chapter 10, verse 25 to 42. Matthew, Mark, Luke, in the New Testament, third book of Luke, chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. Well, we're only going to read through 37 now. Okay, a parable of the Good Samaritan. A teacher of the law came up and tried to trap Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to receive eternal life? Jesus answered him, what do the scriptures say? How do you interpret them? The man answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. You are right, Jesus replied. Do this, and you will live. But the teacher of the law wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? Jesus answered, there was once a man who was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, when robbers attacked him, stripped him, and beat him up, leaving him half dead. It so happened that a priest was going down that road, but when he saw the man, he walked on by on the other side. In the same way, a Levite also came there, went over and looked at the man, and then walked on by on the other side. But a Samaritan who was traveling that way came upon the man, and when he saw him, his heart was filled with pity. He went over to him, poured oil and wine on his wounds, and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own animal and took him to an inn, where he took care of him. The next day he took out 2 silver coins and gave them to the innkeeper. "Take care of him," he told the innkeeper, "and when I come back this way, I will pay you whatever else you spent on him." And Jesus concluded, "In your opinion, which of these 3 acted like a neighbor towards the man attacked by the robbers?" The teacher of the law answered, "The one who was kind to him." Jesus replied, "You go then and do the same." So in our story today, we talked about, the story was about a man who was traveling and he got robbed and beaten up, thrown on the side of the road, pretty much left for dead. So a priest comes walking by. Well, I think we all know what a priest is, right? We have a minister. We don't have a priest in our church. But, they're a religious person that you'd think would be stopping and taking care of other people. But nope, the priest just walked by. Then a Levite came and walked by. So once again, I kind of thought, okay, well, what's really a Levite? So I looked in the back of my Bible and found out that there is a word list back there that tells me what some of these things mean. So a Levite is a member of the tribe of Levi, a man who assisted the priest in the performance of religious duties. Well, so a Levite is supposed to be religious too, and you'd think he would be helping other people. But he didn't either. He just walked right on by. So then I thought, okay, so now the Samaritan stopped. So what's a Samaritan? So I looked that up also. A name used to refer to a native of Samaria, the region between Judea and Galilee. Because of differences in politics, race, customs, and religion, including especially the certain place of worship, there was much bad feelings between the Jews and the Samaritans. Okay, so a Samaritan is not really like some big religious guy. He's someone who really didn't even get along with the Jews. So, did the priest and Levite, they were kind of higher up. You'd think they would have stopped, but no, the Samaritan was just a regular old guy coming by on his animal, which I'm thinking maybe was a donkey. And he stops and helps this guy that he doesn't even know, kind of goes over and above what he has to do to help him, bandages him up, puts him on his animal, takes him to an inn, pays for him to stay at the inn. Then the next day he gives the innkeeper money to take care of him further and tells him, "If you need more money, I'll stop by next time and see how much I owe you." So really the Samaritan, he went way above and beyond, right? What he had to do. So I guess that just kind of shows us that we can stop and help anybody. We don't have to be anybody special. We can stop and help people we don't even know. What a great thing, huh? Or if someone stops and helps you, that's a great thing. So our next story we're going to read is about Mary and Martha. It also follows in Luke chapter 10. It's right after our story of the Good Samaritan, so it's verse 38 to 42. As Jesus and his disciples went on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha welcomed him in her home. She had a sister named Mary who sat down at the feet of the Lord and listened to his teaching. Martha was upset over all the work she had to do, so she came and said, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to come and help me." The Lord answered her, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled over so many things, but just one is needed. Mary has chosen the right thing, and it will not be taken away from her." So here we have Jesus and his disciples are invited into Mary and Martha's home by Martha. They get there, and Jesus starts telling stories and preaching his word, and Mary just sits and listens intently. Well, Martha's doing all the work. So Martha gets a little upset about that, right? So she says something to Jesus like, "Hey, how come she doesn't have to help me and she can sit and listen?" And Jesus says, well, she's doing the right thing. I kind of thought about this story, though, and I'm like, okay, this was in my house, and I invited someone over. You usually offer them food, which I'm thinking there was probably a meal involved. Did they spend the night, or did they just come and eat and leave? Or, don't really know all the circumstances. But I thought, well, if there was some food involved, who was making the food and offering it to him and cleaning up? I'm thinking that's what Martha was doing while Mary was listening. So, if Martha wouldn't have did that, Would they not have any food? Or would they had to do it together? Just kind of something to think about, because I thought, well, something missing in this story. But it's kind of also brought to mind, like my house, when my kids come for a holiday, let's say Thanksgiving, my kids and grandkids come, my aunt, my cousin, whatever other family is here, and I do the cooking. They get here, and I have time to talk with them for a while, and then it's time to eat. So I do all the cooking, get everything out. People help me. Not that I'm doing it all by myself, but I'm the main one. Everybody eats. I make sure everybody has what they want, and serve them dessert. And then everybody, or most people, go and sit down so I can clean up. Well, people do help, but still, I'm the main one. And I don't really take the time to sit and visit with them and listen to what they're saying. And all of a sudden, I get done with everything, and they're half an hour later, okay, well, we're going to go now. And I'm like, what happened? You came, I got everything ready for you, and now you're gone. And I kind of, Christmas is kind of like that too. You get all ready for Christmas. It takes how long to get all these presents and wrap them and make sure there's cookies baked and everything. And all of a sudden, just like that, it's over. So I think sometimes we need to slow down, or I know I do, and listen and pay attention to what everybody's saying, and really listen when people are here and visit with them, and not be so concerned about other things. So that's kind of what Jesus was telling Martha, I think. It was okay for her to make the meal and all that, but she didn't have to be doing everything all the time. She could have taken a break and sat and listened to Jesus like her sister Mary was doing. Listen and pay attention. So in each of our two stories, which characters showed that they loved God and loved others, and how? Okay, our first story about the Good Samaritan. Well, we know how he showed that he loved others, right? Yeah, he stopped and he helped the man on the side of the road, took him to an inn, made sure he was taken care of, and paid for him. He was the Good Samaritan, and he showed God how much he loves him by doing what God has told him to do. Our second story about Mary and Martha, who was showing in that story that they loved God and others? Probably more Mary, right? Because she sat and listened more than Martha did. And I think that's what Jesus was kind of telling her. How did the Samaritan show mercy? Remember when I said what mercy is? Well, yeah, he definitely showed mercy, right? He picked up and helped the guy on the side of the road and showed him mercy and took care of him, even though he didn't even know him. He could have walked right by, just like the priest and the Levite. But no, he stopped and helped him. It's hard sometimes to show love and mercy to others and follow Jesus, right? You think of any incidents maybe where you could have did that and it was just easier to go about and do your own thing? I kind of think if there's someone in school maybe that gets picked on, bullied, doesn't really have that many friends, it's kind of hard to stand up for that person, right? Even though that's what Jesus and God tell us to do, to be good people and take care of each other. It's really hard to do sometimes. And especially now you don't really know other people, and do you trust them? You got to really be careful now as to who you're helping. So in today's story, we see examples of how we can love God and love other people. One way we can do this by serving. Let's think. What's some ways we show compassion and mercy to God and to others through service? Well, as I'm recording this, it had just snowed out, so there's lots of snow outside, and it's been very cold. So one thing we could do is maybe help a neighbor. Let's say you have an elderly neighbor or someone who's kind of overwhelmed with everything, and you're outside shoveling and you see their sidewalk needs to get shoveled or their driveway. Go over there and do it. Help them out. Doesn't hurt, right? You don't have to expect something in return for it. It's just good to help people. Or if you see someone that's kind of overwhelmed, it is very overwhelming. Parents are trying to teach their kids at home. I'm sure you're trying to learn at home, so you're overwhelmed. Everybody's overwhelmed and frustrated. But if you see someone that's overwhelmed, like a mother with 3 kids at the grocery store trying to get her groceries in the car and put the cart back and a lot going on, and you're just walking by, hey, lady, can I help you? I'll take your cart back for you. Just a little something like that can mean a lot to someone by helping them. Also, I thought, a way you could maybe help someone is help someone with their homework. Is there someone in one of your classes that, maybe doesn't quite catch on as fast? Maybe you're good at math or history or language, English, and there's someone in your class that's not. Doing this virtual learning, it's really hard, especially if you're, don't always catch on to things. So if you see someone that's struggling, maybe, hey, can I give you a call later and I can help you? We can work through this together, or we can set up a Zoom meeting and do it together. Kind of reach out, see if you can help people. And then I thought of another way we can help, kind of indirectly, is to donate money to the food bank. You know, a lot of people aren't working now, they have kids to feed, they're hungry. You can either take it right to one of the food banks, or at church, we have a food bank that we take items to the third week of the month. So, you know, if your mom's at the grocery store, she picks up a couple extra items, bring them over, put them on the shelf at church, and they'll get taken to the food bank. It's always good to help other people. So in today's story about Mary, she sits at Jesus' feet and listens to him teach. By doing this, she shows that she loved Jesus. Sometimes we show others we love them by listening to them, right? Remember I was talking before about listening and hearing are kind of two different things. You know, you can hear something, but are you really listening? You know, and sometimes a friend, if something's bothering a friend or one of your brothers or sisters, or, you know, just somebody you know, and they just need someone to listen to them. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. Just listen, because sometimes it's good just to talk about stuff and you realize, oh yeah, after you say it to someone, maybe it's not quite so bad as you thought it was. So this past Wednesday was Ash Wednesday, which is the beginning of Lent, which leads up to Easter, right? So today we began our journey to the cross. So in the next few weeks, you'll hear stories that will prepare you to hear the story of Easter. So kind of make sure you tune in for the next few weeks here until we get to Easter, because you want to hear the stories that are going to lead us up to that. So, have any of you had any God sightings, highs or lows? Aaron Robley did send in God sightings and highs and lows, so let me just find them here. Aaron's high last week is that he spent a lot of time playing Minecraft with his dad and defended the Ender Dragon. His low was that he didn't get enough gear in Minecraft to finish what he was working on. Well, I'm assuming Minecraft is a video game that he plays with his dad quite a bit. And his God sighting was that he really had a good week and nothing really went wrong. It was a beautiful week. You know, sometimes God sightings are right in front of us and we don't even realize it. You know, I kind of think we're all kind of complaining because it's been so cold and there's been so much snow, and we don't really realize what a God sighting it is. You know, snow is kind of pretty, especially when you don't have to go outside and shovel it. But, you know, it's kind of a God sighting to get snow and be able to look at it. It's really pretty. And it all melts eventually. It gets warm, right? So let's close with a prayer. Dear God, thank you for loving us. Thank you for showing us kindness and mercy. Help us show kindness and mercy to other people, and help us love you more every day. Well, you guys have a great week. Watch for your God sightings. Send in your highs and lows if you have them. And we will see you probably in 3 or 4 weeks when it's my turn to do the lesson again. Bye-bye.